break the rule one more time this morning. We have some heavy lifting to do, and it's about politics. So let's start to talk about what is happening in our politics. Now, much has been said about this particular issue, and I think it's of critical importance. And so I want to offer a few words. Yeah, when we see these events unfold, if we do not say anything, that is when we can descend to where we are coming from. And so this is why it's important, I feel, this morning to lend my voice to this issue. And my words may very well be very strong this morning, so let me warn you from now. But the opposition PNP has chosen to, it has decided, the People's National Party, to defend its caretaker for Southwest St. Elizabeth, that's Dr. Miranda Wellington, over comments she made seemingly endorsing war from a political platform. The PNP caretaker made the remarks while speaking to party faithful at the Froome Divisional Conference in Westmoreland on Sunday.
Farmers are out of work. Nobody can produce. You can't buy fertilizer. You can't buy seed. You can't buy water. So how you gonna farm?
If I war, don't want make it stop. If somebody not dead for me.
This is not going to be an easy victory. But I want you to know that we're prepared for war. And if a war, a war!
March, we are march, 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 we are march, march, march.
Can you play that for me one more time? This is, in her own words, the People's National Party's caretaker for Southwest St. Elizabeth, Dr. Miranda Wellington. In her own words, let's listen to her one more time.
Farmers are out of work. Nobody can produce. You can't buy fertilizer. You can't buy seed. You can't buy water. So how you gonna farm?
If I war, don't want make it stop. If somebody not dead for me.
This is not going to be an easy victory, but I want you to know that we're prepared for war. And if a war, a war!
March, we are march, 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 we are march, march, march.
Now, we'll come back to Dr. Wellington's war remarks in a few moments. She also used the platform to criticize her opponent, Floyd Green, describing him as fenke fenke. You know, if you're a new school Jamaican, you might not know what that means. You know, wishy-washy, you know, not of much substance. The JLP called on Dr. Wellington to apologize for her remarks, citing Jamaica's history of political violence. And may I say violence, and may I say recent history. It's not too far in our history, this business of Jamaica being engaged in political violence. And we'll talk about that a bit more later on. But in response, the PNP's General Secretary, Dr. Dayton Campbell, says Dr. Wellington is the target of what he described as a JLP smear campaign. And before we play Dr. Campbell's clip, I will say that, you know, Dr. Dayton Campbell's utterance on this doesn't surprise me, given his penchant for, you know, just being reckless with his words. Let's listen to what the PNP General Secretary had to say.
I want to make it absolutely clear. The recent attacks on Miranda Wellington, our candidate for Southwest St. Elizabeth, are dishonest and deeply hypocritical. So Wellington said, "We are prepared for war, and if a war, a war." That was not a threat. It was a metaphor, the kind used every day in political and public life. From the war and crime to ground wars in election, it's a way of expressing readiness, not violence.
Dr. Dayton Campbell is the General Secretary of the PNP. Now, in her own words, in defending her remarks, the PNP caretaker for Southwest St. Elizabeth, Dr. Miranda Wellington, declared that she does not support political violence. She took to social media on Thursday, that's yesterday, amid what's being described as an avalanche of criticism over her incendiary remarks on the campaign trail in Westmoreland at the weekend.
I do not support political violence. I do not support any violence. Everybody knows I'm barely 5 foot tall and I'm a peace-loving person. Everybody knows that I'm the first one to quell an argument, disperse a dispute. That's some of the qualities that I'm best known for. So my political head is political victimization, and I understand the game of the politics. You know, you bring down your opponent for things that seems like nothing in any other time, but during the period of politics, it may be strong. And so I want to say to the people of Jamaica and the people of my constituency, I will fight for you.
We're more measured there from Dr. Wellington, not addressing the issue really. She went on to tell comrades at the PNP, you heard it in the clip earlier, that this is not going to be an easy victory, but I want you to know that we are prepared for war. And if a war, the PNP jumped to her defense, criticizing the ruling JLP for amplifying the backlash she's facing. In a statement, PNP General Secretary Dr. Campbell says her remarks have been deliberately misrepresented by the JLP in a cynical effort to derail her momentum and distract from its own long-standing pattern of aggression, he says. Apparently, there's nothing aggressive about the remarks from Dr. Wellington. He says Dr. Wellington's remarks were reflective of the pressures faced by women in politics. They're playing the female card, the woman card here, you know, and it's unfortunate that the PNP has resorted to this because, you know, when our women face oppression solely on the basis of their sex, it should be taken seriously and not to be used so flippantly as it is being done here by the People's National Party. Dr. Wellington went on to say her comments were motivated by a deep-seated passion for the people, she says.
I'm not making any excuses, but what was said on that platform is because I'm a passionate person and because I've had to be fighting so hard for the things that I know are right, what are being done wrongly to the people. I have to be a warrior fighting for water. One of the major issues happening in Southwest right now is that some communities are being sabotaged for not supporting a particular party and water being sent elsewhere. I've had to be fighting for the mothers who cannot find the money to send their children to school because the government takes and does not allow people to be given what is rightfully theirs. Nobody listened to the entire speech.
Still, Dr. Miranda Wellington, PNP caretaker for Southwest St. Elizabeth. We're almost up on the break, but she doubled down on her comments she made in Westmoreland, saying her remarks about war are grounded in the tough reality of a political campaign, she says.
When I speak out, it's because this is not a fair war that will take place. That's what I mean. This is not a fair battle. This is not a fair political challenge because people are doing things to ensure that they remain in power and the people are afraid to speak up. And if I, as their leader, cannot speak up for them, then they feel that there is no one.
The voice of Dr. Miranda Wellington, PNP caretaker for Southwest St. Elizabeth. I'll come back with my remarks on the PNP's posture on this, which is entirely incorrect and wrong, unacceptable, really. And then I want to touch on some remarks that Everett Warmington made on the political platform and the lack of a direct response from the Jamaica Labour Party's leadership as well. We'll deal with those two things when we come back from inside this TGI edition of Cliff Fusion. We're talking about this issue with Dr. Miranda Wellington and the People's National Party and her remarks on the political campaign trail. Now, a few things I'd like to say. The response from the People's National Party via its caretaker and general secretary is completely unacceptable for a number of reasons. Firstly, that type of incendiary political rhetoric has no place in the politics of a healthy democracy. So let's take a few steps back, regardless of which political party you support. And let's have a reason here. That kind of incendiary rhetoric that can serve to incite, and you can unwittingly be participating in some kind of political dog whistling to perhaps people who are involved with the political process who are less than peaceful. You have to be mindful of that as well. You have to know who you're speaking to. Words matter. So if a war if a war, then a war, and those kinds of inflammatory rhetoric simply has no place in a healthy democracy. Surely you can get your message across to your supporters without descending into that kind of rhetoric. Secondly, perhaps someone needs to give both the PNP General Secretary and its caretaker a history lesson. Jamaica has an unenviable recent political history, recent record of political violence to which the country cannot return. It's not too long ago, Be reminded, that the country in 1979 recorded 351 murders, which exploded to 889. You can do the math, in 1980. And which historians among us tell us was largely due to political violence. 351 in 1979 murders recorded to 889 in 1980. And lastly, for the uninitiated in hardcore dancehall, here are the words to the song that you heard chip in after Dr. Wellington made those remarks. And I'm going to ask you to play her clip for me one more time. Her If a War in a War clip. Just play it for me one more time, please.
Farmers are out of work. Nobody can produce. You can't buy fertilizer. You can't buy seed. You can't buy water. So how you gonna farm?
Before I would want make it start. If somebody not dead for me.
This is not going to be an easy victory, but I want you to know that we're prepared for war. And if a war, a war!
March, we are march, 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 we are march, march, march.
We're prepared for war, and if a war, then a war, she says. So for the uninitiated in hardcore dancehall, here are the words to the song that was played to lend support to Dr. Wellington's remarks. If a war and a war, make it start. If somebody not dead, for me gun no pop off. Man a big bad man, no take no form of talk. In a mail, if a war and a war, make it start. If somebody not dead, for me gun no pop off. If you this bad man, will put you back in the past. Hey boy, no say nothing, else one more word and you sure get forgotten. From your disjunglist, them are gonna report you missing. A 6 from McGlocker put you straight in your coffin with glass on top lined with sponge and satin. Old mouth murderer, Mr. Press Button. All I tell Seaview man say, watch nothing. But you better watch couple coming out of the eagle. That I gather that is a desert eagle, a gun. He goes on to say some more things that I'm not going to read, so I don't get into trouble with the Broadcasting Commission. But that kind of rhetoric can't be viewed as acceptable, Dr. Wellington. And I've seen enough from Dr. Dayton Campbell and heard enough from Dr. Dayton Campbell not to expect better from him. But Dr. Wellington seems to be relatively new to the political process. I certainly have not heard her name before. I'm not certain if she's offered herself for representation previously, but I certainly am not very familiar with her name. So I make an appeal to Dr. Wellington. Take a step back. look at the comments that you've made. Look at Jamaica's recent violent political history. And then ask yourself, if this is the political legacy that you want to leave, that you want to be associated with your name, we cannot afford to operate so flippantly as to believe that we, by virtue of our actions on a political platform, cannot serve to drag us back down that bloody path. The backsliding or descent down that bloody path can begin with inflammatory rhetoric. Again, words matter, and that should not be lost on us. All right? Now, let me turn to Everett Warmington now. The PMP General Secretary, that's Dr. Dayton Campbell, I called on the JLP leader, Dr. Andrew Holness, to sanction Southwest St. Catherine MP Everett Warmington for using expletives on stage at a recent JLP meeting. Dr. Campbell made the call while speaking at a PMP divisional conference in Frome, yes, Central Westmoreland, on Sunday night.
Prime Minister of the country. And he continues to go on the platform and say he's asking for decency, and his party is campaigning on decency. This evening, right here in Central Westmoreland, the MP from Southwest St. Catherine, Everett Warmington, went onto the platform and accosted even bad word on the platform in front of the media and everybody. And I want to know, what sort of disciplinary action will the Prime Minister of Jamaica, who said he's asking for decency, what disciplinary action will he take against Everett Warmington?
Voice there of the PMP General Secretary, Dr. Dayton Campbell. He went a step further, calling for Warmington to face criminal sanctions.
Because when I go to a stage show and Sizzla Kalonji or any other dancehall artist go onto the stage and they use what they refer to as indecent language, police charge them. I am calling on the JCF to charge Everett Warmington for his behavior on the platform. All them are going like them a bullbuck and dopey conqueror, like a feed them country like everybody else. They're just afraid of them and they can do whatever they feel like. This country does not belong to the labor rights. This is our country, all of us together.
The voice there of Dr. Dayton Campbell, PMP General Secretary. You know, you shouldn't shoot the messenger, and perhaps the PMP could have chosen a better messenger. When I first heard Dr. Dayton Campbell on this, I thought to myself, given his penchant for, you know, reckless remarks, vulgar remarks on a political platform, I thought to myself, perhaps Dayton Campbell should sit this one out. But Dr. Dayton Campbell raises some points here that are worthy of interrogation. I want you to listen in this report from Mahira Stewart on the Southwest St. Catherine Member of Parliament, Everett Warmington, withdrawing and apologizing for using expletives on the political platform. Warmington used the inappropriate and offensive remarks as he urged JLP supporters in Westmoreland Central on Sunday to vote even if they are dissatisfied with their MP. Here's Mahira Stewart's report.
The firebrand JLP veteran MP was at the podium in Westmoreland urging Labourites to vote for Andrew Holness even if they dislike their Member of Parliament, George Wright.
You may not like him, Member of Parliament. You don't want him. Maybe an asshole. But maybe him better than PMP asshole. Yes. So vote with him. If you think you'll vote with George Wright, when go behind the screen, close your eyes. We're not using language just now. But using F, your eyes. And say, me a vote for Andrew Holness. Now George Wright, don't stay home. Vote for your party. Put the X beside the bell. Put it beside the bell.
Everett Warmington's offensive comments quickly drew the ire of PNP General Secretary Dr. Dayton Campbell. He called on JLP leader Dr. Andrew Holness to sanction Warmington for using expletives on stage. Dr. Campbell went a step further, calling for Warmington to face criminal sanctions.
Prime Minister of the country. And he continues to go on the platform and say he's asking for decency, and his party is campaigning on decency. I want to know, what sort of disciplinary action will the Prime Minister of Jamaica, who said he's asking for decency, what disciplinary action will he take against Everald Warmington? I am calling on the JCF to charge Everald Warmington for his behavior on the platform.
In a statement on Monday accompanied by an 11-second audio clip, Warmington apologized.
I recognize that my comments on the platform yesterday were inappropriate, and I regret offending anyone with the comments I made. So I do withdraw them and apologize.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
Thank you very much, Mahiri. We are up on our next break. Back. Thank you so much for staying with us right here inside this TJ Ammunition of Confused Online. Now, you know, Everald Warmington has a track record of being crass, and it really doesn't surprise me when Everald Warmington goes below the gutter, because he's one of those politicians who needs to come up to the gutter, Mr. Warmington, and he's long been like this, and which is why I'm very impatient of people who try to defend the waywardness of Mr. Warmington. Now, Mr. Warmington apologized, and the truth is, when someone apologizes, I'm not in the habit of kicking people when they're down and when they have demonstrated some kind of penitence. But there's a greater issue I want to speak to here. A couple of things. The Prime Minister and JLP leader, Dr. Holness, in the aftermath of those comments from Mr. Warmington, warned his party's candidates for the upcoming general election to avoid all forms of vulgarity on the political platform. The JLP leader's warning comes according to a reportage amid recent controversy surrounding Southwest St. Catherine MP Everald Warmington. Now, Warmington dropped a string of curse words, which you heard. We bleeped them out in that clip there that you heard, while addressing labor rights in Westmoreland on Sunday. But according to his party leader, that kind of conduct has no place in the JLP's campaign. Here's Dana Davey with more in this report.
The Prime Minister and JLP leader has specifically denounced platform statements that can be interpreted to be promoting discrimination, violence, racism, misogyny, and objectification. Dr. Andrew Holness says that kind of conduct does not represent who labor rights are or what the party stands for. He says the conduct of his party's 63 candidates must represent the party's values, reinforce its achievements, and exemplify its vision. Dr. Holness warned the candidates that there must be no distractions from the party's message as it asked the electorate to consider its achievements in government. He says the focus must be on the party's demonstrated capabilities in government to take on what he describes as intractable problems and execute ambitious programs to transform Jamaica. Dr. Holness advised his candidates that the party secretariat would shortly be in contact to review the operational standards and reaffirm compliance. After outlining what he says are the significant achievements in government, the JLP leader told his candidates that by their actions they must show that they are the best choice for Jamaica. The matter of race has repeatedly been raised from JLP platforms as various candidates have taken opposition leader Mark Golding to task over his racial heritage and his loyalty to Jamaica. Everald Warmington, who has emerged as one of the main proponents of the racial message against Mr. Golding, has insisted he is not racist, but rather a realist. He insists that Mr. Golding has questions to answer and has urged Jamaicans not to vote for a man he alleges is descended from slave owners. Dana Davey for Nationwide News.
Thank you very much for that report there, Dana. Now, maybe I missed it, but did any of you, especially the JLP supporters in the chat on our YouTube channel, did you hear the Jamaica Labour Party leader and Prime Minister, Dr. Andrew Holness, condemning those remarks from Warmington? Did you hear him addressing the issue frontally, distancing the Jamaica Labour Party from that kind of rhetoric? Did you hear that in that response from the Jamaica Labour Party leader? I'll wait for an answer. The Prime Minister has failed to address the issue directly. He has chosen to issue a release that dances around the issue without condemning it. Someone on our YouTube channel, Denzel M, is asking, what is there to condemn Tyrone? Trump used the F-bomb. What's the big deal? The benchmark is Donald Trump. Denzel M, if the benchmark is Donald Trump for you, then we have a problem. The Prime Minister should have denounced those remarks from Mr. Warmington and distanced the Jamaica Labour Party from it. But as has been the case for most of his political life, the response to Warmington has not been as stern as it should be. Very rarely does Mr. Warmington pay the price for his bad behavior. Very rarely. And the Prime Minister had an opportunity here, and he ignored the elephant in the room and spoke and danced around the issue and did not address the issue frontally. That is not the kind of leadership we expect from Dr. Holness. Absolutely not. And I also want to say this, as much as I think the messenger from the JLP, from the PNP, pardon me, shouldn't be its General Secretary, who is on record as being rather vulgar with his remarks. And I can't forget him screaming into the mic on a political platform about Paula Llewellyn Gaia Yard. It's very hard for me to unhear that. So he perhaps shouldn't be the messenger. And it just shows how politically tone deaf the PNP can be. They perhaps should have had another messenger deliver this message for complete buy-in. But he raised a matter that I think should not be ignored. The matter of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. If the JCF is in possession of any recordings or this matter has come across their desk, for the avoidance of any doubt that there is two Jamaica and that there is one law for the Medes and one for the Persians, if a case can be brought against Mr. Warmington, it should. He's been in political life long enough. He's a legislator, for crying out loud. He must know that he can't go in public and utter certain words. It can't be acceptable. And if a case can be mounted against Everett Warmington for what he has done, if the evidence exists, the JCF should pursue the case. It is not acceptable. And, no wonder, why so many people are choosing not to be engaged in the political process. We have the PNP defending inflammatory, incendiary remarks about if a war, and the JLP dancing around one of its MPs cursing bad words on a political platform. This is what we are offering to the people of Jamaica. And it is time the people of Jamaica demand better, demand more. The civil society groups should be roundly condemning the weak response from the Jamaica Labour Party and also the weak response from the PNP involving MP Andrew Holness and Dr. Wellington, respectively. It is absolutely unacceptable. We can't be talking about war knowing or recent political history like that. And even if she was being metaphoric, it is still unacceptable. And there's no excuse for Mr. Warmington's comment. At least Mr. Warmington has apologized. We've not heard any apology coming from Dr. Wellington. And quite frankly, Dr. Wellington should withdraw and apologize. And don't allow the likes of her General Secretary to lead her down this road of setting up for herself a legacy of not being responsible with her remarks and her words. It is unacceptable from both our major political parties, what is unfolding. And we need to nip this thing in the bud, you know. Words matter. Words can incite people. Words can inspire people. And words can incite people into doing wrong things. Words matter. It is unacceptable from both the major political parties. The JLP should distance itself from the Warmington comments and condemn them in the strongest possible terms. And the PNP needs to also condemn those remarks. Where is the PNP president in all of this? Where is the PNP president in all of this? Dr. Holness is dancing around the issue, and the PNP president seems to be silent on the matter. It can't be acceptable at all. And we must rise up and demand better from those who offer to lead us. It is absolutely unacceptable. The defense of this kind of behavior. And they will continue to do this if we, the people, don't demand better from them. You've heard enough from me for the morning. We take our next break and come back with your calls. Staying with us right here inside Cliff Hughes Online. It's the TJ Edition. We're working the phone lines now. Yeah. Anthony, good morning. You're first online this morning.
Hey, Tyrone, how are you?
My brother. How are you, man?
Well, much blessing, Tyrone. Much blessing. Tyrone, I support you in your commentary in terms of the behaviors this morning. One thing though, Tyrone, I want to throw in, and this is not defending the JLP's response or whatever, but in the Prime Minister's response, there was a line that says that what was said does not represent the party. So in a sense, I could say that in itself, something not representing the party, that means that would be the party is like distant in itself. Was that strong enough? We can say maybe no or whatever, but let's not maybe say. Tell me, is that strong enough? Given what was done? I would say, personally, for me, the standard that I hold, I would say no. All right, that's reasonable. All right, well, yeah, Tyrone, I want to make a comment though, and I think maybe I was one of the first person, because when I listened to nationwide news on Monday morning, the first 6 o'clock news, and I heard the comment, the war comment and stuff, I did not want to just take it on the face of it, because I mean, being a journalist myself, I don't like to just listen to a bite and made a comment from that. So I jumped on YouTube right immediately, and I went and I listened to the entire speech of Dr. Wellington. And Tyrone, before I said exactly where I'm going with this, I think I was fortunate enough that even though I was born in Kingston, spent the early stage of my life in Kingston, I then went to Westmoreland to live. So that's where I went to primary school and high school before I came back to Kingston. And Tyrone, growing up, there were some people that we held in very, very high regard. Teachers, nurses, Those were the two that we used to. Because you used to have they used to call them LTA. They were like blue uniform who would like visit homes and all of those things. So teachers and nurses were two persons that we held in high regards. We didn't really know nothing about politicians because we only used to see them like when election time and them a drive everyone and stuff and all of that. So that was it. So then now tie up this now, Tyrone, to Dr. Wellington's background. She's an educator. All right. So therefore, she is somebody, especially representing a rural looking to represent a rural constituency, where a lot of people would look to for leadership.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Right.
Absolutely.
So when I listen to Dr. Wellington's speech, Tyrone, overall, it was a good speech. So when I hear the war section, I was really taken aback, and I was like, my God, why did she have to go there? That section of her speech, Tyrone, took away the essence of what she said earlier in her speech, and that's the part that makes the news. And she didn't have to go there, because if she had just said everything else that she had said and leave it right there, I mean, she would have a message that she's trying to say to the people. So I'm saying this, Tyrone, and I said it when I called Sandra on Monday, that, I mean, we need, there's a pattern. There's a pattern right now, and I'm putting this pattern more on the PNP, because I've seen a number of things. I've seen the leaders comment about we get wicked on them and stuff and all of that. I've seen the lady down in Hanover speech that them switch, so them are going to end up in a ditch and whatever.
Yes, I saw that as well. That too was unacceptable. I listened to that as well, I should say. Pardon.
Right. So a pattern has developed, and I'm saying, Tyrone, is that while they might jump out and say, oh, we're not inciting and stuff and all of that, we need to remember, Tyrone, that we live in a country where not everybody is educated, not everybody is well thinking, and sometimes things that is being said coming from persons who is in leadership position are interpreted literally.
Appealing to the basis instincts, yes.
Right, and person will act on those stuff. So I am saying that, listen, we don't have to go there. We don't have to go there. If you have a message and a good message, then send your message. You don't have to get a hype or a forward by saying these unnecessary things that will left to other person's interpretation. You know what I'm saying?
I want to jump in here, Anthony, and I've very frequently said here that sometimes the drug of choice for politicians is a crowd in a frenzy, or the desire to see a crowd in a frenzy. And that is why we find some of them going off and saying all kinds of things. That is the drug of choice. It gives them a high of sorts that they seek to replicate whenever they take to the political stage. Everybody wants to whip the crowd up in a frenzy, and then they go off into making reckless remarks.
Right. And then no, Tyrone, the thing that bothers me, the thing that bothers me most of all is when adults, and again, I'm going to say, like somebody like Dr. Wellington, who's an educator, I'm sure if she has a student who is maybe does something to another student or says something inappropriate, she would want to call that student and ask the student to apologize. I am saying, when are they going to get to that stage where they can behave as that adult, that leadership, to look and say, oh, listen, man, I went overboard. Okay, I went overboard. I mean, what I said was inappropriate, and
you know what I find despicable, Anthony, and I'm going to have to relieve you now. You know what I find despicable too? The fact that the PMP chose to draw the sex card, the gender card.
Yeah.
She clearly said words. She clearly said words that are unacceptable. They're inflammatory, incendiary. You can describe them in all sorts of ways. And the PMP is choosing to chalk up the backlash to the fact that she's a woman. It is despicable that they've taken that route. absolutely despicable.
Tyrone, what?
May I say this, Anthony? And it detracts and diminishes from those valid cases where our women face pushback, discrimination on the basis of their gender. It should not be done.
Yeah.
Make your final point, my brother, before I have to take the other
final
talk.
thing I say on this, when it comes on to the PNP General Secretary, I'm not even going to call his name, Tyrone. I have no respect for him. I've lost that long time ago. I mean, because he's playing agenda card now, but when he disrespected Paula Lewin wasn't a woman. Maybe she wasn't. You know what I'm saying? So when I see those things anymore, anything coming from the PNP Gen Sec, I don't listen to it. And I'm hoping that my fellow Westmorelandites, included one of the councillors down there in Tyrone in Eastern Westmoreland, is my friend. We go to school together. And I am hoping that Mr. Campbell does not get that opportunity to come and say he's going to represent the constituency. That's my view, Tyrone.
Thank you very much, my brother. Have a great weekend, man. To you and the family.
Cool, sir. Yep.
Papa Nana, you're up next. Good morning to you, Elder. How are things with you, man?
Well, Tyrone, I'm telling you, I'm not feeling that well. And let me explain something to you. Morning. Let me explain something to you. And tell
Good morning to you, Papa.
I have always tried to be fair. But let me ask you something. You think if everything that somebody say you would say the same thing, then it would be relevant? One of us would be relevant?
I'm not certain I'm understanding the question.
Ask
me again.
I am saying to you, I don't expect that everything that I said you was going to agree with me. Because if everything that I said you will agree with me, then one of us wouldn't be relevant, right?
And no. 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 We're not going to always agree. But we can respectfully disagree.
All right, good. But I am coming to you now, Tyrone. You know, you give me an impression this morning that the only thing that would have suited you is for the Right Honorable Prime Minister was to fire, I think you would feel better if he had fired Warmington.
No, not at all. I never called for that at all.
Yes, you give me the impression.
Because I know he can't do that.
It's true. No, listen to me. First time when a dog bites you, who would you make the complaint to? The dog or the owner of the dog?
Not the dog. I would suppose the owner.
Right, good. So can you make a complaint about any one of the PNP who come out of line to Mark Golding? Yeah?
I'm not certain I understand the question.
And you know it encourage the police to go there and look up Warmington if possible. Look at the amount of things. I'm not saying that you did something wrong and I must do it too. If it was wrong then it's wrong then. I am not agreeing with Mr. Warmington for his behavior. What more could be the Prime Minister do? And you are saying that the Prime Minister is dancing around it. You know, Tyrone, to be honest with you, I'm going to tell you the truth. This man, you put me in the mind of the Jamaica Council of Churches. Look how many of these their members gone to prison for molesting people. Right?
Why? Hold on there, Papa Nana, man. Hold on. You know I have respect for you, Ellen. First of all, you're mischaracterizing what I've said. And second, but let me do the first thing. I did not call on the Prime Minister to fire Mr. Warmington. You can't fire him as an MP.
I never I did not say you call on him to fire him. You know, I said the only thing that seems to me that would satisfy you is for him to fire Mr. Warmington.
No, sir. What would have sufficed, which is clearly what I said, Miss Papa Nana, is that the Prime Minister should have been straightforward in his condemnation, specifically naming Mr. Warmington and distancing the JLP from that kind of thing. He should have done that, which he did not do.
So what? So when he called him,
you tell me why he didn't do it. Why write a letter dancing around the issue? Tell me why didn't he deal with the issue frontally?
So he personally should have come up and told Mr. Warmington that he disagreed with it. The letter doesn't speak.
He is the leader of the Jamaica Labour Party, is he not?
Yes.
Does Mr. Warmington represent the JLP as a Jamaica Labour Party MP in Parliament?
Yes.
It's butter pan catch, you know, Papa Nana.
Huh?
It's butter pan catch. It's not very difficult for us to wrap our mind around why the leader of the JLP needs to distance the JLP from that kind of behavior and deal with it frontally. That's not some great thing that we're asking the Prime Minister, and it's basic rudimentary stuff that, you know.
So let me ask you something now, Tyrone. The letter that he wrote, what he was distancing the JLP from what Mr. Warmington said. He agree with Mr. Warmington?
Did you hear him outrightly condemn Mr. Warmington's remarks in that letter?
Of course, the letter says it. It does not
Tell me
agree
where.
with
Let me read the section for me. I've asked Nora for the complete letter to the MPs, but I want you, since you said you've heard it, tell me which section in it he directly condemned Mr. Warmington's behavior. You still there, Papa Nana?
Yes, I'm listening to you.
So I'm asking you where. You said he did, and I'm asking you, do you recall the section in the letter where he did?
Well, the only way I could say he did unless somebody write the letter for him, because what I hear read, he did not agree with what Mr. Warmington said. The letter did not agree. No, if you tell me that he should write a letter, he should personally tell Mr. Warmington. That's a different kettle of fish. Right?
No, that's not what I'm saying. Can you recall the section in the letter where he denounced Mr. Warmington's behavior, particularly?
Not particular, but he is sending a message to each and every one of them.
No, so why not do it particularly? Tell me, what would be the reason, the raison d'etre behind the leader of the party coming out in the aftermath of Mr. Warmington doing that and not denouncing it particularly? Tell me what would be the reason for that?
All right.
Is he afraid of Mr. Warmington?
So, what?
Is he afraid of Mr. Warmington?
Why should he be afraid of Mr. Warmington? I didn't know
so why not address the issue directly?
But Mr. Tyrone, I didn't know that the people of Clarendon, where Mr. Warmington is the MP, vote for a person that have a hand. Why should the Prime Minister afraid of Mr. Warmington? Who he is? He have a hand?
So hazard a guess then. Why wouldn't he address the matter frontally?
Well, all right. Look here. You say he personally should have addressed it. But let me tell you something. There are certain things that the churches is involved in. And, you know, they always seem to jump on something that suits them. Have you ever heard one of them speak about how much of them they are prison for raping people picnic? Have you ever heard any of them come out with it? A lady told me that when he carrying 12-year-old picnic go to church, when she said she go to the bathroom, she have to follow him, especially if you don't know where deacon, and they use the deacon as point man to watch. Is that the JCC must talk about them oneself? You can't
that kind of behavior should be condemned wherever it happens, in the church, outside of the church, it doesn't matter. Should be condemned. But you're putting that forward now to say the JCC shouldn't comment on any issue because they have their problems.
Saying that. I am saying to you, if you had ever heard they preach and the people, the pastors or the deacons who find themselves in problem by molesting young people, if you ever heard they preach against it?
I can't speak for the
JCC. Against it?
I can't speak on behalf of the JCC, but let me tell you, I condemn it. And anybody who abuses anybody's child in the church should face the full brunt of the law.
Exactly.
Anybody at all. And I also am saying the Prime Minister should directly condemn what Mr. Warmington did and distance the JLP from it.
That is your view.
Two things can be true at the same time, Papa Nana. Do you agree with that?
These PNP, they behaving like a matter of fact, all of them should name Eli. Because they lie. They should name Eli. I am telling you that he should be their name. They should name Eli. I am telling you.
Eli, I like that one, Papa Nana. I have to leave it there though, but that's a good one. They should be
1 minute. You know Marcus Garvey, prophecy fulfilled by him. He said 1 pound of rice, 1 big gill of red peas, and 1 dreadnought, and a piece of raw meat That's all some of the PNP want, one night belly full. God bless you and you take care of yourself.
All right, man. Have a good one, Papa Nana. This is Cliff Hughes Online. We're taking your calls. We've gone way past the break. The producer's gonna have my head for it. Please forgive me. But we'll take the break here and come back with more of your calls.
Super healthy, super happy. SuperMed located in Kingston, St. Thomas, Portland, and St. Mary. The time by SuperMed family of pharmacies and Hugh and Den Pharmacy is
8 minutes after 11.
Tune in to Nationwide 90 FM on July 4 from 2 to 4 p.m. for the Western Resilience Water Project at the Davis Penn Football Field in Trelawney. Jamaica's future flows from the West. Tune in live for the official launch of the Western Resilience Water Project, a bold step towards sustainable development and water security. Hear from national leaders, strategic partners, and experience the groundbreaking moment. Tune in to Nationwide 90 FM from 2 to 4 p.m. on July 4. It's the Western Resilience Water Project at the Davis Penn Football Field in Trelawney. Catch the live stream on our YouTube channel at Nationwide 90 FM Live 2. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation.
Our phone numbers are 630-9371. 630-9372, 630-9373, 630-9374, and 618-825.
Thank you so much for sticking and staying with us. This is Cliff Hughes Online. Before I go to the phone lines, I know we have Mr. Morgan on next. Let me read the full text of the letters written by the Prime Minister. And then I want to see if or friends who support the JLP can be reasonable. It says, dear candidates, three standards of the Jamaica Labour Party. The government that you have helped to form has accomplished significant achievements during our terms in office. Problems once thought intractable have seen profound transformation. The national debt cut in half, the poverty rate cut in half, the murder rate cut in half, no net new taxes in 10 budget cycles, the largest highway and road infrastructure development, and the most comprehensive reclassification of public sector wage compensation in Jamaica's history, among many other transformational achievements documented in our achievements prospectus. I don't want to pause there. This is the very reason why Mr. Warmington does not need to resort to that kind of thing. Because the JLP has some things on which it can campaign some accomplishments. The letter goes on to say, our work speaks for itself. However, this is not enough. Even as we have accomplished much, there is still much more to be done to continue the journey from poverty to shared prosperity. We must therefore also speak about our vision, mission, and plans for the future as captured in our soon-to-be published manifesto. Our platform is one of achievement and a strong vision. We have a positive, active, and strong message supported by a track record of achievements. We must be good messengers. Candidates and others representing the Jamaica Labour Party platform have a duty to the people, the law, and morals of our nation. Let me read it again. Candidates and others representing the Jamaica Labour Party platform have a duty to the people, the law, and morals of our nation to conduct ourselves with regard for the highest standards. We are not in a race with the opponent to the gutter. We are forming a pact with the Jamaican people to lift everyone to the highest levels of achievement and fulfillment. Conduct and statements which suggest or promote discrimination, violence, racism, misogyny, bigotry, objectification, or any form of vulgarity must not be a part of our platform. Such conduct is not who we are or aspire to be as a people and a political organization. We are the party of equal rights and justice. All who are prepared to abide by our standards are welcomed. We are the party of steady progress and shared prosperity. Our conduct must reflect our values, reinforce our achievements, and exemplify our vision. There must be no distractions from our message as we ask Jamaicans to consider our achievements and choose our demonstrated capabilities to take on intractable problems and successfully execute ambitious programs to transform Jamaica. In the coming days, the Secretariat will be in direct contact with you to review the party's operational standards for candidates and other representatives and reaffirm your compliance and disciplined adherence. By our conduct, let us show we are the best choice for Jamaica. Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, ONPC MP, party leader. Like I said earlier, this is very good from the Prime Minister, but he did not frontally address the issue with Mr. Warmington. And I've not heard it. If it has been done, anyone in leadership from the Jamaica Labour Party distancing themselves from those comments and the behavior on stage. It is good that Mr. Warmington has apologized, yes, but more. It requires more from the JLP. Everything requires leadership, and I'm certain Dr. Holness is seized of that fact. Mr. Morgan, good morning to you.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
How are you, sir?
Yeah, not so bad as you know. Well, I'm listening to the program still. I'm first on the program still, you know. Calling for a long time. And, you know, I couldn't get to it, you know. Well, I still agree with you, you know. That's the Prime Minister. You hearing me? Please?
Yes, man, loud and clear. Yes, with the Prime Minister.
Yeah. I agree with you still, and I with you. You know, I like when you write that letter still, but you understand me? You should call Mr. Warmington name, you know? That's to care show him that him don't go on a platform with no indecent language. You understand me? We want the things to just run level and clear and decent. He's not like the others, you know? That's running the program to them own way. Outlaw. You know, we don't know the outlaw thing. You know? I'm not too long with the state, but I'm just listening to the program because I'm a listener to this.
I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so very much.
All right, thank you.
All right, Mr. Morgan. Who do we have next? Paul, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning. First time on your program.
Thank you for calling, Sir Paul. Welcome.
Yes, I have 3 issues I want to line out with you. I'm a resident. I'm in the Red Hills area. And the first thing I see the government has done, give us a nice piece of road from the Hillfoot going up. At least we have a few of them need to patch out. But as a motorist traveling that route daily, I realize that the concrete trucks, when they're going up with their concrete, they're spilling the road and destroying back the new paved road just above the wind farm, below the wind farm and above the wind farm. At those deep corners, you know that Red Hills has some deep corner. So the concrete trucks, they are messing up and they're not cleaning it up, and they're going to cost the government more money to refix that road. That's one of
It's a long-standing issue. It's a long-standing issue. I gather there were some remarks recently about addressing it from the Minister with Responsibility for Works. If my memory serves me correctly, I think he publicly addressed it recently. He plans to address that particular problem.
Okay, and the other thing now is about above Red Hills Primary School to about where Coopersville, that first turn of Coopersville, right on that piece of ditch over there. It becomes the next Riverton City over there where the people are dumping their garbage. And so we could put up a sign there where we could say no dumping. The government put up a sign there will prosecute it because over there, a lot of rat infestation and stuff like that is rodents over there. All type of animals, people carry them dead animal and throw over there also. So we need a sign along that corridor between Red Hills, above Red Hills Primary School to Coopersville. That's that piece of
that stretch there.
You're right.
Right along that stretch there. And the third issue?
And the third issue is now about the water. I live into that area. So that's why I can explain it. The water commission stop at the main entrance into Woodland Heights. And we in Woodland Heights, we have their nice, decent house around there. It's after residential here because when we drove out in the morning, we can see the people sweep the road, Coopersville, right down to the road. It's very beautiful. And we don't have any water in that area. The NWC stopped their pipe right at the entrance of that development, and we don't have any water inside in those lands and those houses in that property.
Repeat the name of the area for me.
Woodland Heights.
Woodland Heights. And you're saying you don't have any water?
No, we don't have, the residents here don't have any water. We have to truck water whenever we have water. We have to buy water. Each time we run out of water. We have drums there, we have to buy water. We don't have a pipe, we can turn on water from that.
Who's your member of parliament?
I think is Minister Juliet Cuthbert.
You think or you know for certain?
I know for certain, yeah, she is.
And have you reached out to her office to as your community as a whole, not just you, reach out and ask what are the plans and if she can make representation on your behalf?
I never reach out, but what I'm trying to do, I want to do a community that each person in the community wrote a letter and we could take it to her. So I'm working on that now, but for years that this development.
No, but how long has she been MP and you've not reached out to her to ask her for her to advocate on your behalf? That can't be reasonable on your part, or perhaps other people have done it that you don't know.
Maybe other people have done it and I don't know. Maybe.
You don't have a citizens association?
No, we don't have a citizens association, no.
Well, form yourselves together now and reach out to your member of parliament, write a letter, ask her to advocate on your behalf, explain what the problem is, ask her to make representation for you, and then come back to us and let us hear what she says, all right?
Okay, Mr. Tyrone, thank you very much.
All right, Fuse Online. I mispronounced the name of our caller, pardon me, please forgive me. It's Aisha Kamufa. Good morning to you. Welcome to Cliff Fuse Online.
Good morning, and I'm glad that you made that correction. You know, as African descendants, we must know our language. Aisha Kamusa, it's from the Yoruba side of us, the Igbo people.
In Nigeria, that is?
From that side of the world.
Mm-hmm. And that's Nigeria, is it? If my memory serves me correctly.
Aisha Kamusa.
No, the Igbo, you were referencing some of the tribes. Is it Nigerian or Ghanaian?
Well, they're right in that West Africa region.
Right, West Africa region, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's stretched right into Ghana.
As well. Mm-hmm. All right. So what's on your mind, my good sir?
I have two issues. And the first one, our elections have been fraudulent from day one. And both parties are complicit and act in collusion on it. Now, I want to make reference to Section 91 of the Representation of the People's Act.
Before you read Section 91 of the, hold on, my good sir, my brother, hold on. You've made a very bold claim that the elections have been fraudulent and both political parties know of it and they've been encouraging it. Now, we know that in times past we've had issues when it comes to stuffing of ballot boxes and so on. But we've largely had in recent political cycles, elections that have been watched, by the election observers, and they've told us that, things are above board. So why do you say that? Let me hear you.
Well, they too are complicit because they are aware of the Representation of the People's Act, Section 91, which says no one should bribe or treat a voter, a potential voter, before, during, or after an election. And all these monies and paraphernalia and T-shirts and armbands and all this is bribery. And the Representation of the People's Act speaks specifically to it. And it
to someone being given a T-shirt to wear to represent their political party, that you consider that bribery, Aisha Kamufa?
It is. And when you read the act, you will see the interpretation of it being a bribe. It said it goes further, It said you should not even treat or promise to treat someone. I would urge you, Brother Tyrone, to read the Representation of the People's Act, Section 91. It is explicit.
I'm not denying, I'm not denying, my brother, that, bribery takes place. People get money in envelope. People say how much they want. Politicians put money in envelopes and give to people. We do know that it happens. It's an open secret that it happens. But I'm not certain if I would agree with you that someone wearing a party T-shirt to show support is an act of bribery. That rises to what the law says is an act of bribery.
Well, the interpretation, they say even to treat someone, and they use the word specifically, not even to treat someone or promise to treat someone. I would urge you to read Section 91 of the Representation of People's Act, which speaks specifically to offering anyone anything during an election process.
No, I will heed your advice, and I'll go back and have a look at the law of the Representation of the People's Act. I'll go back and have a look at Section 91. All right?
Yes, please.
And then you and I can have a conversation on this.
Very much so. I really look forward to it. Now, my next issue is that our Constitution does not speak to political parties. It speaks to individuals who want to represent themselves in Parliament. Individuals. Now, we have a campaign financing law that only gives to political parties and it don't give to independent candidates. I have run as an independent candidate in more than one election, and I have never gotten any compensation from that pool of funds that they put together to give to parties as party funding. The Constitution does not recognize political parties. It recognizes the individuals who put up themselves. So we as independent candidates and third parties, we are at a total disadvantage to these other parties, the established parties. And we need
so if I'm following you, and are you here? There's a few things I want to question about what you're saying, but let me just I'll table those and just say this because I go off a run. But let me ask you this: you're saying people who run and lose should be repaid out of the public purse?
Of course, because the Constitution recognizes the individual and not a political party.
No, I'm not so certain I would support that, sir. Not
so
at all.
Why would you give to the political party from the campaign financing fund and not give to the independent candidate?
And they are now being given that money from that fund, is what you're saying? I know there are arguments about political public funding of political campaigns, but is that happening right now?
Yes, they get the parties get financing, but the individuals don't.
From the public purse.
Don't.
All right. Let me do my checks again, and then you call me back, and we can have an informed conversation on this. All right.
Okay.
But thank you for the call. I have to run, but you give me a call back, and we can have an informed decision on this. All right. Nora, help me here now, because my memory is not so great. Have we gone to the point where we are now publicly reimbursing political parties as that started? I'm getting up in age, I might not be remembering, but Nora, help me with that there. I know there's been much talk about it, but help me on that. We're up on the next break. I know we have another caller, but we're at the 9:30, the 11:30 break. So let's take the 11:30, 3093714. That's 876-630-9371-4 or 876-618-8255. Chris, good morning to you. You're up next.
Morning, Tyrone.
Good morning, my boss.
Tyrone.
Give thanks. We're hearing you, man. Go ahead.
Okay. Good morning. Why I listened to you this morning, I listened to you and your commentary. And at some stage, well, I agree with most of what you have said. However, I must say that in trying to balance, to suit some people, I kind of disagree with you. Because if the Prime Minister never go out and write a letter to all Well, he wrote to everybody one collective letter. Everybody you need on your team, you don't have to go out and name no team member. A team member will know that they were out of line, so he spoke to him or her. I have not heard that from the other side. I want to agree with Papa Nano that, we don't have to try all the while to balance this. And I know that the news media, because you don't want to be branded, but, remember, we are the 4% and also the incubator and all of this. I am saying to you, this doctor, she is no more a teacher or educator. She passed that on a doctorate. And she got a doctorate. And she's now saying she never mean it that way. I tell you this. I'm going to be quick because I know sometimes the time signal will come up or you get some other callers. But I tell you this. I got a chance sometime last year or earlier this year, to speak at a political rally when Mamadi was going back in that by-election. And for the first time, I was a police officer, but I spoke at Top Trelawney. And the selector there was choosing some music when I was going up. And I said, don't take away my time. The chairman gave me 2 minutes to speak, so allow me to speak. I want you to go find one song for me when I'm going to say something. Find the song that says, "On Old Vampire." So you notice the song selection that was chosen. If, as Dr. Campbell called for the police to go after Mr. Warmington, I'm not saying Warmington is right. He's my personal friend. His number is in my phone. And, sometime I don't know if he did like what the man in North Trelawney did, drinking the vodka and telling the scammer, chop the line, go through. That's Mr. Meadows. Chop the line and go through. I don't drink vodka because it makes you lose your memory. But, when you hear a woman can come on stage and say, why you want if you go on? Is CTAC have to investigate that kind of crime, It's a high court thing that, for Warmington, something going to try on a petty session and him pay $40 and come out. That woman is inciting violence and war. And then when I reflect and I talked to you a couple of weeks ago about it, when you see all the guns that were coming and some of them was found in Westmoreland, I don't know if it is any part of the arsenal for war.
I'm not certain I would go that far, my brother, as you are attempting to do now. Yes, that she was clearly inciting actual war. I wouldn't go that far, and then you're making a connection between guns that were found in Westmoreland. I would caution you against that. But
I'll take the caution.
And let me repeat here. And now my thoughts. It is good Mr. Warmington has apologized. I agree with you on that. Absolutely good. The Prime Minister, given the gravity of the situation, though, yes, should have publicly addressed the matter involving Mr. Warmington directly. There's no going around that. Everything requires leadership. And the Prime Minister falls short of the mark. Fell short of the mark just there.
Well,
but we also, hold on, let me finish. We roundly condemn, which I said earlier, those remarks from Dr. Wellington. They're unacceptable, and she should look within herself, regardless of what she's being told by her political handlers. And if she wishes to be a politician that leaves any kind of legacy that is worth recalling, she would apologize and withdraw the remarks. And she has not done so, and they've come out and they've defended it, and the PNP are absolutely wrong on this. And it's not the first time we've seen them circle the wagon and double down on an issue when they've gotten it wrong. It is mind-boggling how politically tone-deaf the PNP is, And there's no effort as well. And I'm a final point to you, my brother. There's no effort on just merely being balanced for being balanced sake. We should be balanced in our remarks and be measured with our remarks. And these are two issues that are connected because they involve public displays by our political leaders or those who would be political leaders. And that is why the two issues are connected. And that is why I addressed both of them.
Tyrone, you are the host. You took away a lot of my time, but I'm telling you something.
And I can give it back to you.
Thank you. If I was still a serving member, and I go to a dance, and I hear a dancehall artist talking about him gun and him shoes them and him lace them, and you know what it is, I'm going to mark him up. If it was a footballer, and he tell you how much he's going to go, goal he's going to score, and mark up that footballer. When somebody tell me about war, their campaign must be closely monitored and see who is around them and see who is supporting and all of this. Because you can't have a doctor misusing words. It's not a little common man, you know. And I want little, you know, so when a little man said to me, say, "Yes, your mother, me no bother pay him no mind." But you see a big man who sometimes was in the Senate and tell me if he do that, me hate him for life, you know. Because him know when I talk, say, you have to under good control of yourself. And a doctor can't go up on stage and I say, why you want to hear your music come up, and why you notice you could even read out the whole song. A wicked song that I can't tell you.
I would recommend to you that you hate anyone for life. You know, you don't need to carry around that baggage with you.
Well,
right?
I will take your advice on that. I still talk to him, you know. A senator tell me that, you know. A senator tell me that for me to go F me 98-year-old mother sometime ago.
No, unacceptable. Nah, that's unacceptable.
That's
unacceptable.
And I speak to him. But as a legislator, look at what he has gone down to. He has descended into I'm on the phone.
Nah.
Yes.
That's unacceptable, my brother.
Yes. And them kind of behavior. And tomorrow you're going to come back. You said that before 100 person, and tomorrow you're going to come back before 10 and say, boy, what I said yesterday, you know, was sad. I'm sorry about it, Superintendent. You're not going to do that to me and get away.
That's unacceptable, my brother. That can't be acceptable. But he apologized, you said?
Privately. Not in the same
no,
kind
man,
of
he should apologize. He should apologize to you publicly, man. If he made those disrespectful remarks to you publicly, he should apologize to you publicly.
And I said to you, you know, my stepfather was a deacon like yourself. And he gave a story. I'm going to be very short, although you take some of my time. He gave a story.
No, I'm giving it back. Can you Chris, you don't have to talk about it. I'm giving it back to you, man. Go ahead. Reasoning, man.
He spoke about a woman who tell a lie on a pastor. And in those days, you never have best dressed chicken or KFC like what you said the other day. But he said the woman, when the pastor gave the help for the chicken to pick, he said to her, Pauline, pick the chicken and put the feather on that piece of zinc there. And when the feather was there, he said, where's this feather, Pauline? He said, Pastor, them blow away. He said, they blow away. And he said, no, but I want them back. She said, me can't find them. He said, what you said about me at a certain place is same thing. It is feathers in the wind. They are all gone. They can't be retrieved. So when you diss a man in a public, you must go back on a public microphone and apologize same way. But I'm saying to you, what the educator said was not normal. And she selected her song because I selected my song when I was helping Mama D of at South Trelawney. When I said, them are all vampire. You understand me? We can't have it like this. I don't know when our Prime Minister speak, I never hear him mention the opposition leader name, you know. He don't even call the title. He said them on the other side. When the opposition leader speak, he don't even say the Prime Minister as a mark of respect. He said, Andrew Holness is one of them. And he keep on calling Dr. Holness' name. He needs to step back and look at himself. Because yes, I hear the poll, Blue Dot poll, say we in the 60s. I'm 62 December coming. We in the 60s. Some of us for vexation-wise, we might not support the government. But I will support them. Personally, I am supporting. But you know, the young people, them notice what is happening now. Because when people now getting money, just fear for go to school, 100 bus a roll out and all of these things. There's nothing that Mr. Golding can show more than the 2% of ganja where him pass in a parliament after Mario Dean case, you know. There's no legacy that he has. There's no legacy, not even of the bank that he had. He sold it. They sold that bank here in Bunting and Golding. They lose that. They sold that bank, not lose it. So he don't have a legacy for young on to. Dr. Holness have a lot of things to show. Educated pitney. Whole mother get pension. Some who never worked before. Social pension and all of this. Do not put no spin to this. The PNP must change their course. Must change course. Late now, though. Late now. Probably after the next general election, after third term. They can.
I gave you about the time. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks,
I appreciate it.
And thanks for doing it. But don't try balance it. It can't be balanced. One of them
No, not at all. No, Chris. Not agreeing with you. Not agreeing with you. You know, I don't understand some of you, you know. You want, if the JLP does wrong, the JLP should not be held to account. And if the PMP does wrong, they should not be held to account. What kind of madness is that? What kind of country do you want? We can't operate like that, man. Come on, man. If your party is out of line or someone in your party, both of them should be held to account. We're not attempting to appease anyone here. Yes? Both of them will be held to account. And you can't diminish what your party has done and want to amplify what the other party has done and tell us, don't focus on that, man. Focus on this. Absolutely not. Not here. With the super producers found for me a document from the ECJ. Read that caller about election campaign funding. Yeah. And page 18 of this document says, National Election Fund Campaign, NECF, a composition of funds which will be administered by the Electoral Commission for use in the reimbursement of up to 40% of election campaign expenses, which are incurred by candidates in an election. The fund shall be held and applied for accepting and receiving contributions from private individuals, companies, and other entities, Jamaican diaspora groups. Management of the NECF, pursuant to Section 52AO of the Act, the director shall be responsible for the management and administration of the fund. Monies in the fund may be invested by the Commission. Funds are to be held in a bank in Jamaica. Management of the NECF, the director shall cause proper accounts of the fund to be kept and shall prepare annual statements of accounts which conform with generally accepted accounting principles in Jamaica. It goes on to say disbursement from the NECF, the total amount of funding a candidate can receive shall not exceed 40% of the lesser of the total expenditure the candidate was permitted to incur within the campaign period in accordance with Section 52BI, or the actual expenditure incurred by the candidate. And of course, it says there's a formula to be applied for reimbursement and so on and so forth. So just providing what the situation is on that matter. All right, thank you, Lady Nora. Yeah, appreciate it. Leon, good morning to you. You're up next. Leon, we're hearing the radio in the background. Are you there, Leon?
No, hello?
Yes, good morning to you, Mas Leon. You're up next.
You hear me?
Yeah, man, loud and clear.
Okay, no radio because I'm not near to a radio. Yeah. So, yeah. Stepping away from the politics a little bit, Jamaican politics. I'm telling you, some I thought, but the politics is hotter. Yeah. So I'm going to go about 5,000 miles from here, Mr. Tyrone, to Gaza, and what's going on there. What are we witnessing, Mr. Tyrone, in Gaza in 2025? Your word. Hello?
I'm listening. This is where you get to shine in, man. Tell me your thoughts, man. I'm listening.
I mean, for once it isn't Africa, okay? I don't have another word but genocide, Mr. Tyrone. I don't want to hang on to your US visa. Hang on to it tight. Because I don't want my car to make a lose. You know? I'm disturbed. You know?
The people in the people at the moral high school in the West, here in the West, you know, and we see wars going on, watch it on TV like it's something from Hollywood, and we are not affected, you know. We haven't had a modern war in the West. The last war we had in the West must be an American Civil War. We can call a war. Not true, Mr. Tyrone?
I'm listening to you, sir. I still try to see where you're going before I offer anything.
No, I'm saying. 1945, we had the Jewish Holocaust. We had one in Rwanda. We had, you know, all about the place in the whole world. What can be done about it, Mr. Tyrone? Is there nobody gonna stand up and speak for the Palestinian people? I hear somebody, one of the American contractors, you know, they set up an agency between Israel and America to distribute food aid to the Palestinians. But every time the people go to first of all, the people have to cross an active war zone to go and collect the aid, where they are distributing the aid. And every day you hear the people go to the distribution centers, you hear 20 people dead, 10 people dead, 30 people dead. Apparently, the people who are providing security, and I heard somebody come out, the people who are providing security at these centers are shooting at the people. And what I hear last night on the BBC, somebody come out, a whistleblower,